Now taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
This is the Arsenioization of the show. Leader Fan Radio Network.
Okay.
And KFAN. That's KFAN. Well, technically KFXN.com. Well, no, I guess it's actually KFAN.com, but the name of the station legally is KFXN. It's a long story that goes back many, many decades. 2 minutes, 26 seconds past the hour, 3 o'clock. That's Central Standard Time. Bumper to Bumper Show is live, local, and it is on the air as we prepare. Rumors are we've got some more tsunamis coming in the rest of this week, including the possibility of a 7 to 10-inch snowstorm. Is that true, or has that been exaggerated by people who've trying to get me going?
It's always possible that people are trying to get you going. I always cede to you and my mother-in-law on weather matters, and I have not spoken to my mother-in-law today, so I will take your
Well, you'll notice,
word for
in
it.
all honesty, I'm a lot less weather terrorist obsessed than I used to be. I don't know if I've softened up over the years or I've just gotten bored with the bit. I'm not exactly sure. But I thought I read something to that effect. Maybe that could be one of those worst-case scenario forecasts.
Looking at one model.
More likely it's going to be like 1 to 2 inches of dendritic snow. I don't know.
Not a bomb cyclone?
Well, people will tell us. Either a bomb cyclone or a Woj bomb, one or the other. My name is Dan Barreiro. I host the program. Gaardsy produces the show. And it's possible we need to do an on-air intervention about the program.
Okay.
And maybe today is the appropriate day. I was informed via Twitter earlier today, via X, that the annual survey of the national sports radio scene, radio station scene and shows scene, revealed yet again that the Bumper to Bumper program, despite the fact that I think we have finished first in the ratings like 59 consecutive quarters, can no longer, if we ever did, crack the top 10 primetime afternoon major metropolitan radio station shows.
Yeah.
According to that Barrett's survey, whatever they call that website. Barrett Media website. I was told today, and I will admit, there was once upon a time I would eagerly await these results. But quite frankly, I became so annoyed by them that I have not even looked for them the last several years. But sometimes I don't have to. They come to me. Maybe it's an effort to inspire the program, to motivate the show. I think we finished 13th in the latest primetime afternoon radio shows, major metropolitan radio.
In the country?
Correct?
In the whole country?
In the nation, 13.
Right behind Petros and Money.
Aren't we just
13.
ahead of Sedano and Stink?
We are.
I know. That's the
Sedano
irony.
and Cap, you're right.
The irony of it. You can't even believe
He never
it.
should have left Stink.
No, he shouldn't have. That's for sure.
Unbelievable. We
Thank God we're still ahead of him, though. At least we got that going for us. I'm sure Sedano will pass us by as early as 2025.
I think this is the highest
survey.
we've ever been.
You?
I do.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I thought we were actually. It wasn't. So maybe we have never been top 10, which in of itself is absurd, but that's okay. So the question is, do we need to Arsenioize the program? And for those of you old enough to remember, one of the great old-time Saturday Night Live bits was when, I think it was Dana Carvey.
It was.
Played the part of John Carson. And the bit was, Johnny, we love you, and you're king of, late night, but it's getting a little stale. You're getting a little old. So what we need, and at the time, Arsenio was with it. He had a late night talk show.
Yeah, it was great.
That was with it and wow, and was very popular for not that long, but at the time was popular. So the bit was, we're going to Arsenioize John Carson came out with a different look, blah, blah, tried to with it and wow it, tried to change his cadence, tried to change his vernacular. It was a hilarious skit. Very well done. Carcinio, that's right. Yep. And I don't know if Carson ever responded to it or had fun with it. Knowing the way he operated, I'm guessing he wouldn't have done that publicly. I don't know. But is it possible that it's time to Arsenioize the Bumper to Bumper program? And I start by wondering whether we do officially need to rename the show. We've kidded about over the last, a couple years. We've talked about alternative names to the program, the A-hole in the afternoon. For example, if we officially change the name of the show from Bumper to Bumper to A-hole in the afternoon, do you think we would immediately rocket up at least 5 or 6 spots into the top 10?
Not really. I'm looking at the names of the shows, and no one is really quite that dramatic. It's a lot of just last names. There's G-Bag Nation.
Oh.
There's the Hard Line.
What? G-Bag Nation is the name of a show?
G-Bag Nation. Yeah, where are they out of? They're out of Dallas, 105.3. There's 5 of them
What
there.
does that even mean?
I don't know.
G-Bag Nation is the name of the show.
Yes.
Well, that will tell you that we need to come up with something goofy like that.
Yeah.
We've talked about being the afternoon beast from time to time. Would it help us if we were the beast? Would it help us if we were the a-hole in the afternoon? Afternoon Aardvark. Would that help us if we made it?
No. I think calling us the Aardvark, we're out of the rankings completely.
You're probably
I don't think that's Arsenioizing the program.
You might be right. I don't know. So
Burns and Gambo.
So those are just names of the individuals.
All of these are just names. So do we need to go
with Barreiro?
Yeah.
That's not, but the name's not catchy enough. Should I change it to Bar?
What if we just do Dan and Barreiro? And then there's 2 people on it.
Make it, and it'll seem like there's 2 people.
Yeah.
And for the average broad programmer who gets to vote on this nonsense, then they go, well, kind of weightier because there's 2 people. Yeah, you might be right.
I think that's just looking at the names. I mean, even Sedano, he's got Cap. Sedano and Cap.
How about
who looks ridiculous, by the way?
Does he really?
In the picture that they've taken.
Cap?
Yeah. I don't know who Cap is.
How about
Sedano looks sharp.
Bump and the Pup? Would that be good? Bump and the Pup?
We should think about that.
Bump and the Pup.
Bump and the Pup. Huh, no one's ever thought of that before.
Or maybe we just go Barreiro and the Pup. I don't know. Maybe again you introduce the notion of a second presence, and then you give that person a goofball name. You were many years ago on the Paul Allen project. You were the Pup, right? It was PA and the Pup.
So many years ago now that it'd have to be Barreiro and Old Yeller.
How about, as Willow Mark Rosen's cat guy suggests, B-Dog and the Pup?
B-Dog.
B-Dog and the Pup has possibilities.
What about B-Dog Nation?
Oh, B-Dog Nation.
Barreiro
nice.
Nation.
How about Afternoon Ard Snark? It's clever for us, but these programming directors aren't that clever. No offense to any of them, but they're not. We're not dealing with geniuses here.
Here we are.
Obviously, with the exception of Chad Abbott.
Locally we are.
Locally we are.
That's why we're all on this list.
How about D-Bag Dan and the Guard Dog?
That was one of my nicknames when I was a kid.
Guard Dog?
The Guard Dog.
Was it?
Yeah, and then that just got shortened to Dog. So people did call me Dog.
Okay.
I didn't think about that until just now. They did call me that.
Bar and Gar?
We need to break for Brian Billick.
Oh, I forgot. We are on a tight schedule today. Louis will join us early, like 3:45. And later, Kessler, with a very full menu, is scheduled to join us in studio at 5:30. When we come back, though, we'll check in with from the Super Bowl. Number 59, I believe it's 59 that will be played on Sunday. And Brian Billick, who is in Nolens for the big game, will file a live report. He is next here in the Fan. Super Bowl 59, most of you know by now, is set. It will be played Sunday, probably starting around 5:15, 5:20, or even later, depending on production challenges. And it matches the Kansas City Chiefs going for their 3rd in a row, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Brian Billick is already in New Orleans. He is brought to us today by X-Tech Shoulder Pads, the #1 pad in football. You can learn more at xtechpads.com. And we'll get into more detail about Mr. Billick's interest in that particular enterprise, because I think it's near and dear to his heart. But as we say hi to him via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline, I do want to talk football to start the deal. Good to chat with you. Let me ask you, I know we've talked about your own Super Bowl experiences before, but when you look back on your Super Bowl week, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, that's the key for all the teams that come in here for the Super Bowl, because the fact that it is different than any other week you've experienced. That's the challenge for a coach, is that how do I create normalcy so that my players can get into that normal preparation rhythm that you have getting ready for a game, and getting them ready for a game that at the end of the day, regardless of all the peripheral things around it, is another game. It's like every other game they've played, not accounting for the consequences and what all that means, but the game itself. So that's really the challenge. How do I create normalcy beginning today on Wednesday? Because today is when they go back to work. So they got in here on Sunday and Monday, and all the crazy things that go along with the Super Bowl. You just kind of let that play out. But now, beginning on Wednesday, you, as a coach, you try to create as much of a normal routine as you possibly can, just so it has a certain familiarity to it.
Okay, so as you look back on it, I think we've talked about this before, but maybe not. I in my mind's eye, I seem to remember that some coaches, if they're honest, say, look, we really tried to get almost all our important work done the week before we had to descend upon the madness. And you still obviously practice and you try to remind your players of certain things, but that there isn't really that much many coaches expect they can get accomplished starting today, that it's we're cramming stuff in for the week before we get here. Is that true? Was that the way you approached it, or not so much?
Yeah, and that's the way that I was advised to approach it. Mm-hmm. That's the way we did it, in that you conducted last week, the early part of the week, it's all administrative. Hey, get your ticket and travel and all that stuff out of the way, so that when you came back in, we came back in on a Thursday, and we installed the game Thursday through Saturday, and didn't really practice much, walkthroughs, whatever. You want to physically kind of take it off and relax. But you installed the game plan as though you were going to play on Sunday. And that's so that then when you get into the city and with all the things that are going on, you then get back to practice, where we actually put the pads on, tried to get our pads back underneath us, added a little physicality just to get back into that rhythm. But you're polishing up the game plan. And you leave it at that. The other bit of advice that I give and that I got was, once you get the game plan set, leave it there. Because with that extra time, we coaches, we love a vacuum.
Yes.
We'll fill it up. And but we can do this, and let's rethink that, and you end up changing game plan a dozen different times and coming back to the original game plan you had in mind. So, and plus you want the players to get a sense. If they all of a sudden, beginning today, see a bunch of changes in the game plan that they had put in previously, then they start to think, ooh, these guys are panicked. This is not good, and it belies that normalcy that I'm talking about.
Let's bring it forward to this week. One of the interesting storylines that has developed basically since the title round weekend is the number of people who apparently are bored with or tired of or apparently can't stand the Kansas City Chiefs. And I guess I know familiarity, sometimes breeds contempt. But Brian, for the like of me, I just can't figure out why. I don't think they're a particularly non-likable team. I think their coach, I'm sure he's got an ego, but it's not like he's out there all the time. They're trying to do something that's never been done. So why do you think this has become a storyline? Why are there so many people rolling their eyes at the Kansas City Chiefs being back in the Super Bowl?
Well, it goes back to why do people hate the Yankees? Why do people hate the Boston Celtics when they were on all those runs? The teams, those dominant teams that if you're not a specific fan of that team, I can see where you can kind of get tired of it. I want something new. I don't want to think that there's a team that's dominant because that means the rest of the league and the rest of the season really didn't mean much. I think that is a little bit different because Patrick Mahomes is such an intriguing figure. And you're right, Andy Reid's a good guy. And the idea of, wow, a three-peat could be kind of neat.
Yeah.
Something that we haven't seen before. I think they embrace that a little bit. People might. But I think so. It's also, I'm tired of it. I want to see something different. That's why, you like I said, the Yankees or the Celtics or whatever dynasty that had that run, the Patriots for a while. It's like, I'm kind of tired of it. I'm tired of seeing their faces and hearing the whole thing. Let's do something different.
Who wins and why?
Interesting. Great matchup. One of the things you always look at is, okay, who can handle the unique circumstances of the week? Well, they both have a pedigree. They both are used to it. So that's really not a factor. The fact that they're both, the fact that Kansas City, their personality, even though it's still Patrick Mahomes and how great he is, they have won by playing great defense and running the ball. And along with obviously what Patrick Mahomes does. That's why they've won. Their margins have been so small, where before the old Kansas City teams were blowing people out and throwing the ball all over the place. Well, they won this year on a more disciplined game plan, and the margins were tighter, 3, 4, 7 points. And that's what they'll bring into this game. Philadelphia is the most physical team that I think Kansas City will face. They're capable of keeping up with Kansas City, of pounding away, obviously, with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. And I think defensively, they'll do a good job with their standard spacing fronts of limiting the run game of Kansas City. You got to take away Kelsey, like we saw last week with Buffalo, and basically say, okay, if you can't run on us and we're going to double and take away Kelsey, can you beat us with these other guys and Mahomes running around? So it's going to be a good game. I think Philadelphia is good enough to do it. But the problem is, I can sit here and lay out, well, Philadelphia, that 7-man front is excellent. Yeah, but it's Patrick Mahomes. But they're going to run the ball and take what? Yeah, but it's Patrick Mahomes. Well, they can get vertical and A.J. Brown. They can come up. Yeah, but it's Patrick Mahomes. That's just the qualifier that if you're betting, that's what you're going to struggle with right now. I think Philadelphia can win. I think they will win. But it's Patrick Mahomes.
I think that's very well stated. One more question before we talk about X-Tech shoulder pads. Should the Vikings do everything in their power to bring Sam Darnold back?
Well, meaning how much do we pay him?
Yeah.
That's the multi-$100 million question. And they're the ones that can only answer it. I mean, he's got a great story. And what he did this year, at the end of the day, you've got to ask yourself, and it was the same question we asked of Sam Darnold when he came out in the draft, and I don't want to knock him, but the question was, can he really be the big-time player in the big-time moments? He's been in the profile at USC, and so he knows what that is. So, but can he produce? Is he that good to be one of those guys? And that's the question they have to answer. The other question is, okay, if not, then what? Then we got to go. Art Rooney had the classic statement was, I don't mind overplaying for good players. I just don't want to overpay for bad players. And not that Sam Darnold is bad, but are you comfortable enough with him in being the answer? You can win games with him. In paying him the number that you're going to have to pay him, unless they can get by with one of those contracts that look really, really good, but are really protect the club with different options, and he can get that huge payday like all the really great quarterbacks, but there's some way out of it. It's likely to be that kind of contract if he wants to sign it, and I'm not sure he can get better from anybody else.
My sources say that for the first time, X-Tech will have youth pads available for the 2025 season. Tell me all about, refresh the memory of our listeners, because they've heard you talk about X-Tech shoulder pads before.
Yeah. I'm really excited about that. X-Tech been at it for 13 years. We're the number one pad in all pro football, major college, and even high schools now, the major high schools. I'm really excited about us getting down into the youth pads because I have two grandsons, 12 and 9, and they're playing. And the pads that they're playing with now, Borderline, I may not let them play. You might as well take a couple of rolled up T-shirts and put it in their shoulders for all the protection they get. X-Tech pad is the cutting edge of technology in pads. It's the best protection for our young people in this great game. People need to check it out. If you actually go and touch and feel it and look at the comparison, it doesn't matter what the cost is or how you can get it, you're going to put these young people in X-Tech pads. That's what my grandkids are in, and I can't give you any better affirmation of it than that.
xtechpads.com is where folks can get more information. Be safe. It's New Orleans, man. Well, this isn't your first rodeo, but try to stay out of trouble because New Orleans is one of those places where you can find it, right?
I will try real hard. I'll get on the golf course. Can't get in too much trouble there.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
That's Brian Billick, former Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator, of course, former Super Bowl winning head coach as a member of the Baltimore Ravens. What do we have coming up? Well, about 3:45, Luigi is going to join us. Louis a little earlier than originally scheduled today because of some issues he has from a schedule standpoint. Kessler yet to come today. A lot more Super Bowl 59 discussion to get into, including some good texts that have come in on some other ideas of how we could maybe freshen up, rename the show, and perhaps give us a chance to crack that coveted top 10. So it appears that Julius Randle's going to be out for a while, correct? There are people who are devastated because they think, well, that might end any chance that the Wolves would have to move him. I honestly don't think it would get in that way. I don't think it's that kind of an injury. It probably doesn't help. I think the bigger hurdle is I'm not sure how much of a market there is, and it's fairly clear the Wolves don't just want to dump him. If they did it, they would want to try to get something in return.
Yep.
And I don't even know what that is, in all honesty, at this point. I'm not sure that there's anything out there. I think it may well be that they're going to have to figure this out on their own. Maybe there's a minor deal you can make that does give you a chance to add a backup center. By the way, wasn't Jordan McLaughlin part of the one of these deals? Was it the Luka deal or was it the Fox deal?
I don't know which one, but he's on his way from Sac.
So I think that might have been the Fox deal. I'm not sure. But I'd forgotten all about him, and that's not easy to do because he was, he's a good, nice little spark plug player.
I always liked him.
At times, yeah.
I always liked him. J-Mac is going to the Spurs as well.
Spurs, he was part, okay, yes. There you go, yeah. So, in all honesty, I don't think that's going to matter all that much. I don't think there's any reason to believe we're going to be able to do anything all that ambitious. The Phoenix story is weird because there's a disconnect on this one that has to be better explained than it has been to this point, because one of the things that's been written is that part of the reason you're hearing about the possibility of Durant leaving Phoenix is the belief that might be the only way they could get the buckets deal done. And I'm saying to myself, that might be one of the most asinine, illogical arguments I've ever heard of the National Basketball Association, and I've heard all of them over the decades. Because, in all honesty, you're a decent basketball mind.
I try to be.
Okay? You like Jimmy Butler.
Right? I do.
Who's a better basketball player, even with their age disparity? Kevin Durant or Jimmy Butler?
Kevin Durant.
It's not close.
It's not close.
Even at his age.
And there's not much of an age disparity.
And there's not that much of an age disparity. A couple of years. And there sure as hell is a huge disparity on availability, right? Durant misses some time, but he doesn't miss Butler time. So it's like, that's stupid. We're going to work. We're so desperate to get Jimmy Butler that we'll trade away our best player, well, historically, Kevin Durant. No, the only way it makes sense to even entertain the Butler nonsense is you play him with Kevin Durant, right? So there's got to be a disconnect in either the reporting or the logic there.
Well, you don't want Butler, Booker, and Beal
No, exactly.
Well, you don't want Beal at all. That's Phoenix's biggest problem.
Durant's not the odd man out.
No.
Then Beal you want, but Beal, the problem with Beal is he so far allegedly has not been willing to waive his no trade clause.
And nobody wants him.
And nobody wants him.
At $51 million or whatever
right.
it is.
Yes.
Doesn't mean he's a bad guy or a bad player, but he's got a bad contract, especially now in second apron land.
Yes.
When everyone's trying to avoid these crazy contracts like they want to.
It's a very, very strange thing. Are you familiar? Who is the ex-NBA player who's now doing one of the sports talking head shows with your gal, Michelle Beadle? Is it Chandler Parsons?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Chandler Parsons.
Well, Chandler Parsons is getting lauded and applauded for a rant he went on regarding what he viewed as the uncivilized, less than classy way that the Dallas Mavericks dealt with Luka Doncic. And, that don't you have some obligation? You got to bring him in at some point into the mix, and you have to talk to him, and you have to be fair to him. And, like Johnny has pointed out, that I don't think Cat had a lot of advance notice that he was going to be traded, but that at least Tim Conley had the decency, once he did trade him, to drive over to his house.
Yep.
And that's a nice gesture.
A very nice touch.
It's fine. But the fact of the matter is, on the larger issue, Conley, he may regret it at this point, but Tim Conley did what he thought he had to do. And he might well also have said, I can't open this up. I can't go to Cat's house to say, we're considering moving you.
Right.
But for all the obvious reasons that we've laid out, that the whole deal might unravel. So I would say respectfully to Chandler Parsons that, again, it sounds good to say, well, do the decent thing with you got to bring him into this much earlier, and do the decent thing for a player who has transformed your franchise. No, not in the current power struggles that exist, especially in the NBA, where and I know that players and their agents play the game. And I'm not ripping them for it. But I'm saying if they can play the game the way they do you think a lot of the rumors that agents spread on behalf of their player about, well, no, he didn't really want to go there, and Jimmy Butler ain't signing with Golden State, et cetera, is that above board? No, it's agents and players wielding power in real time in a way that they think is most effective for that player. Now, I would argue in Butler's case, he's destroyed his credibility with the approach he's taken, and if his agent isn't aware of that, then he should be fired if he even has an agent. I don't even know if he has an agent. I assume he does. But the fact of the matter is, teams are rightly, I think, it's unseemly, you could say, to the first, what time Luka finds out is when he's traded. But I'll say what I said again yesterday. All's fair in the power struggle at this point. And if teams are trying to wrestle back control a little bit to the point where they want to make sure the deal they've decided in their infinite wisdom or stupidity is best for the team, then they're doing it exactly the way they have to do it too. So let's not be naive about the willingness of players and their agents to wield their power, and that's fine. But the idea that we're going to be like, well, that's kind of not very decent given how much he's given the franchise. Well, yes and no. The teams, management, ownership, whatever, they got to do what they got to do at this point. And once you open the door, as we said yesterday, it may well be the deal unravels, because then maybe the team that wants to take the player finds out, well, God, he's basically threatening. He ain't going to sign here. Now, with the Lakers, my guess is he will sign in Los Angeles.
Yep.
But if it had been someplace else, or maybe for whatever reason he didn't want to go to L.A., well, now that's not the Mavericks' problem anymore. They've made the deal. They may regret it, but they've made their deal, and now it's the Lakers' problem, if indeed it is a problem at all.
And they don't have to sign him to the Supermax because he's not eligible for the Supermax. So it's actually less of a problem for the Lakers. He'll be their new max guy. And that's what's been interesting about reading about all these contracts and all these possible trades. The second apron thing is real, and it's damaging a lot of teams and rosters. We obviously know that firsthand right here. You build a team under a different set of parameters for years and years and years and years, and then all of a sudden it gets blown up like it has. So I read something today from one of the insiders, I don't remember which one, that talked to somebody that thinks the new logic is there might just be like 10 max players that are actually worth the max in the entire
Correct.
NBA. And it used to be, there's a reason why Bradley Beal's got a $51 million contract, because he was going to be he was the max player for the Wizards. One of the max players. And he used to be able to afford two of them. And so he got the max, the big one, from the Wizards. Then he got traded. Now he's got a terrible contract. So teams are hesitant to give those deals out now, I think. And $350 for Luka, they maybe just didn't want to do that if they weren't all in. I don't know.
It's and again, I mean, they may regret it. I said again, the Lakers, I think, had to do what they had to do. But I will say, right now, at least, the Lakers don't have to worry about committing $350 million to him. Right?
Never, because they'll have to pay him less.
Exactly it. I think he ends up losing, at least in the short run, I think $100 million. Now, he may end up making it up later. But the idea, it's being presented as what a dehumanizing thing, and it is. But I would argue
that's showbiz.
That is showbiz. And do player agents and players worry about that? The ability, when they're trying to manipulate and influence an outcome, they're not worrying about what impact that might have on other lives, because those are other people that they play with, etc. And so I'm not ripping them, but I'm saying let's not be naive and say that this is showbiz for everybody. And to that extent, owners and front office people, I think, have every right to try to wrestle back as much of that control as they can in order to get the deal done that they want to get done in a league where, and I think basically what Parsons is kind of saying a little bit is, wait a minute now, I thought the pendulum had swung far enough where the players are supposed to control all of this. Well, maybe not. Maybe the pendulum, I don't even say the pendulum has swung too far, but I'm saying I don't think anybody should be surprised or expect teams to apologize for trying to wrestle back some measure of control and say, we're trying to make this particular deal. The idea of trading humans, yeah, it's all a little bit sordid, but it also happens to be the lifeblood of the way these leagues operate, right? Because this is a consortium of teams that all have to work together. By the way, I didn't have to break again at 42, did I?
You shouldn't have to.
I don't think so, yeah, because we caught up from last hour. Yeah, we should be in good shape. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open, and that number is 64686. I'm as curious as anybody to see. The trade deadline is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central, so it'll be just in time for when we start at 3. Mm-hmm. I hope there's some. I mean, you never know. I guess. I mean, there could be some kind of a blockbuster. But who would be the player? I mean, because Butler is not a block. It's expected if it's going to happen at all. But I don't think Butler's viewed that way right now. So.
Well, it's a big domino.
Durantula would be, I think, the guy.
Yep.
But is there another huge player? I mean, LeBron, after the Lakers played last night and they dominated the Clippers, obviously already inspired by their new teammate Luka being on the bench.
Yep.
And after the game, somebody said to LeBron, try to get LeBron going. One of the Jackals said, hey, man, how do you feel about this kind of move? Because the Lakers, it seems, really made this move for the future, and you're 40. So how do you feel about that? LeBron gave a great answer.
Yeah.
I don't know if he meant it, but he basically said, well, what's wrong with what they did? I mean, I'd do the same thing. That's the next generation. And if it bothered me that much, I would waive my no-trade clause, and I'd be out of here.
I'd get up out of here.
Yeah. And so now maybe that was a bummerooski, and he'll be traded by 2 tomorrow.
With LeBron, you rule nothing out.
I guess that's true. But
I'd be surprised.
I think it'd be pretty unlikely at this point. But I thought that was a good answer on his part. So I don't think it's going to be. He's not going to be the big name that's going to go.
No, I mean the names that are listed are the ones that we've all talked about. I mean, Butler and Durant are the two big ones, and then but those can't really do anything unless you can figure out something with Bradley Beal, who's I'm just looking at Hoops Hype, and they kind of have those three ranked as the top 3 questions to answer. LeBron was in that mix too.
He was,
because people were wondering, what does this mean? Does he go to Golden State? Remember, Golden State's trying to get everybody.
Yes, they are.
Golden State's trying to get LeBron.
Well, and supposedly Phoenix, by the way, wants Draymond Green too.
Do they?
Yeah. So I don't know what Phoenix is up to. The Ishbias are pretty mysterious and a little bit scary, you could say, because they're the ones who were just fascinated with getting Beal, right?
Yes, but it was also under the old era.
Yeah.
When that whole thing started.
But that mix never made any sense.
No, it didn't.
That's the point in any era.
It
I don't
didn't.
think.
And it limited their ability to actually have a point guard, and defensively they're a mess, and the whole bit. By the way, yesterday, remember, you said I was probably going to lose my mind if I watched the Lakers press conference with Rob Pelinka and all the platitudes and self-grandization. So I didn't see the press conference, but do you know, you're right, first of all, that I would have. But do you know what almost made me throw up just immediately?
The jacket.
The jacket. You're like 60, bro. We can't be wearing these leather jackets
where the zipper is open at the bottom and the top.
Like, we're happy for you that you have a Peloton Plus, and I'm sure it's got a great view in Beverly Hills or Manhattan Beach or wherever you live. I watch that and I go, what are we doing? Like, what? I appreciate Tim Conley and his very sharp polo sweater combos that he likes to wear.
Very unassuming.
I get it. We're Hollywood, and you're Pelinka, and you were Kobe's agent.
Well, and he's feeling his oats because it was a hell of a move. There's
of
no
course,
question,
and he's had a lot of great moves.
Well, what's weird is no one else was as bothered. In fact, some people said they thought it was restrained and stripped down, like they didn't bring back, Magic and Kareem and Kobe's family and all that. Well, yeah, that's true.
They were at Pauley. That was awesome.
Which is actually pretty good.
Oh, that was great.
But I still thought the verbiage was like, oh my God, this is nauseating.
Coupled with the jacket.
Coupled with the jacket. Just let it speak for its. Other people are going to say everything you had to say out loud. It's better when it comes from them. You just say, another day at the office. We just we're just trying to do the best we can to give us another 10 to 15 years of being relevant. That's our job. Our job is to keep this franchise as relevant as possible. And when we were presented with the opportunity to get a player this good, we went out and attempted to do it, and we're glad we were able to. But oh God, I thought it was way too thick.
If I ever have a jacket on like that, please call my wife and have her give me some help, or just say,
how much do you think that jacket goes for?
Probably like $2,000.
I think probably more than that.
You think so?
Yeah, maybe Rolls Royce like.
Yeah.
I bet you
it looked like it came with a car. It's like you need to buy this Ferrari and you get this jacket with it.
I wonder if he bought it just for that press conference. He said, I got to do something. I got to do something because this is like
Rodeo Drive.
He's cock of the walk right now. I mean, he is living large, right? He has made his team, at least for a minute, the talk of the league. Now, what'll be funny and interesting is when he thinks he gets fouled and stays in the backcourt for the next 7 seconds while his man scores on a layup, will he feel the same way about it? Because that's part of what you have to accept, I think, with Luka.
Yes.
The home run, of course, would be on the weight and staying in shape is the ultimate shape guy, the guy who spends, what is it, $1.5 million on his body every year.
That's the rumor.
LeBron is the guy who kind of gets across to him, bro, come on. You do this right, you could be playing until you're 40 if you do this right. But that means you're going to have to make some changes. I got a dietitian for you.
Yep.
I don't know if that'll work.
No more IPAs. We drink wine around here.
To that extent, from a physical standpoint, that's a great role model to have on your team.
It is. I'm not, I guess, what's the word for it? I'm not convinced they're not going to be really good with these two.
No, I think they're going to be good. They have their issue is defense. Yeah. They got no inside presence left.
They've got 12 hours to figure it out, or 24.
Well, that's what everybody thinks they're going to try to do.
Imagine the jacket.
Because they might give up 140. Now, they may be able to score 150. That's the thing. Because but I'm with you. I think, put it this way, I wouldn't want to play him in the first round.
No.
I absolutely. Well, oh, my God.
What if you had to play him in the play-in?
Well, then we're probably out soon.
Yeah.
I don't like our chances beating them. I don't. I mean, you could say, well, what the key to that would be, we have to score at will against that. But we don't always do that. We do that intermittently, but we don't do that every night.
Because if you think about it, the reason why they're going to be so great offensively is pretty obvious. So let's just take the Wolves, for example. McDaniels would probably guard Luka, right? Or do you put Ant on Luka? By the way, Ant's defense has been no good this season.
Well, it's been inconsistent at best, I'd say.
But when they need it to be good, it just hasn't been very good. So you got Edwards, McDaniels. Obviously, DiVincenzo can guard a little bit.
Yeah. Well, if he's healthy by then.
Yeah. Who else am I missing in our lockdown?
Well, Nah. Yeah,
okay, so you got him in there
a little bit. Yeah. We probably tend to send 2 or 3 different people. Luka. And then, worst case scenario, Rudy's got to guard him in a switch. And we all know how that came out.
I walked into that one.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I ran into that one unknowingly, like Rob Dillingham off a screen. You just erased me with that one. I didn't even see that.
Well, can you imagine Rob Dillingham trying to guard Luka? I mean, he weighs twice as much.
He does.
He's strong. He's got great. He's got the ability to get at you from any angle.
Yeah.
It would be ugly.
It'd be like Space Jam with the Looney Tunes and the monsters.
Yeah. The ultimate revenge for Luka would be to gain 30 pounds and win a title. And again, did you see the press conference?
He looks good.
I don't know if he looked like BMI of one of the great young NFL head coaches, but he didn't look, like I said, as if he was a sumo wrestler, which is what everybody had kind of predicted, right? I think he's supposed to play Saturday night. I think that's the plan.
Calf's feeling better.
I mean, can you imagine? I think he goes back to Dallas in March. I think that's the first. I think they play each other. I think Dallas comes to L.A. in mid-Feb, pretty soon. But they go to Dallas. I mean, you want to talk about the build-up for that ball game?
Yeah, I'll be watching.
God, how could you not watch it?
Yeah, I'll be watching.
The over-under for that game, 56 for Luka? I'm guessing 56 points. What the over-under? Right in that range. What do we have? We have Kessler at 5:30.
People are sending me pictures of Rob Pelinka now from yesterday.
It was.
He looks like Rob Lowe playing Rob Pelinka in a movie, trying too hard to look Hollywood.
Rob Lowe is the name that's come up a lot.
He does look like him.
And he's a good-looking guy.
I got to see where he's from. Here's the best part. He's from Chicago.
That jacket. See, that's not a Chicago jacket.
No, he's from Chicago. He went to Michigan.
That's not a Grabowski jacket.
What I learned from Mitch Albom all those years ago was Pelinka was on Michigan when the Fab Five arrived.
That's right.
The Fab Five. So, I've known the name Pelinka since I'm 12 years old.
Yeah.
So Pelinka kind of got pushed out by the Fab Five a little bit. So he's obviously a smart guy. Ross School of Business.
No
We're
question.
happy for him.
Yeah.
Lake Forest High School.
Well, that's privilege.
Yes. But that jacket ain't Lake Forest, is it?
Well,
Lake
Forest, it kind of is.
It's Michigan Avenue?
It's
a little bit of that?
It's not Gary, Indiana. It's not my hometown. It ain't south side of Chicago. But the northern,
And he's got the pursed lips, I'm going to do something here.
Yeah, he's, it's part of the deal there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back and look at video and film of Pat Riley as a player and compare it to the look he established once he became the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, it'll blow your mind. He had the big mutton chops. He had a mustache going. He was
Kentucky, right?
He was on a Columbo episode, for God's sake. The Lakers, several real-life Lakers were featured in a Columbo episode. And look at him there. He basically looks like some hick from Kentucky.
Yeah.
And he completely, remade that. And it was the suave, sideline look to the point where, was it Town who made the movie Tequila Sunrise? He wanted Pat Riley to be in that motion picture because he had such a Hollywood-esque look. And the irony again is, as a player, but even as a coach, he's blue collar as hell.
He's rugged.
He's demanding. He's driving his players. But the look was very Hollywood on the sidelines, very slick.
So I just got back from L.A., as you know, for about 5 days. I love L.A. I could absolutely live out there.
I love it, too.
Even with the traffic.
I'm with you.
Here's my question for you to ponder. How long would I have to live in L.A. before I felt good enough or I was changed enough to wear that jacket? And the black shirt with the chain.
You know what? It might happen sooner than you think.
Maybe Josh Broughton can weigh in because I know
it might happen sooner than you think. Top five?
We've got Wolves, a Julius Randle update, and your Minnesota Twins cannot stop spending.